Hello guys! So in a previous video I was wondering why I was so inspired by the Tok Tok and Mark Hollis music while I was not inspired at all by the David Bowie music, even though I absolutely always loved David Bowie. I think that I didn't meet one person who didn't like at least David Bowie. Even my grandmother, it's not her generation at all, and she was sad that David Bowie died, which is absolutely incredible because she knows absolutely nothing about rock music or underground music or any music, but she knew about him. That is absolutely exceptional. So there is no question, I want to say it from the very beginning, there is no question about the quality of David Bowie's music, even though he changed of style a lot during his career. That's not the problem. I don't care about that. I don't say that I liked everything he did, but I liked, I would say, 70% or 80% of it, so, which is a lot. However, I never painted about David Bowie, never, and except maybe one tiny thing, and you will see later, but it's not about him, it's not about him. I don't plan to paint things about David Bowie. Firstly, because I think that he did it all. I mean, he painted himself, so it's already very visual, but chiefly when he was an artist, when he was live, I mean on stage and even on the records and everything was thought in advance, and there was an image which was going with the music, so we don't have to imagine anything. He did it all. So it is a reason, but not only, and I've been thinking about that since maybe 2 weeks, and I found interesting things on internet. I'm not here to talk about David Bowie, I'm here to talk about Mark Hollis and Tok Tok, but chiefly about Mark Hollis actually. So why I want to talk about Mark Hollis and I start talking about David Bowie? Because since David Bowie has died, I've been watching a lot of interviews with him, about him, and he speaks a lot, he tells a lot. It doesn't mean that he tells a lot about himself, but he tells a lot about his way of seeing the job, which is his music and the stage and the records and everything. And while he's talking, it makes me think of Mark Hollis, because Mark Hollis didn't give all these answers, unfortunately. Sometimes he did, but not always. I have a lot of questions in mind about Mark Hollis and I'm staying without answers. But by listening to David Bowie, even though it's completely different, and not totally, I will tell you why, what David Bowie is saying gives me answers for Mark Hollis. And I'm going to show you how and why.
I think the expectations are that the performer is supposed to be real, telling his life story and having this a kind of integrity to a style. And I don't have any of those things, you see. I don't have integrity to a musical style of music. I do what I like.
He's saying that the audience expects the artist to have a form of integrity to a style, and he only does what he likes. So of course I thought immediately about Mark Hollis. Does Mark Hollis have an integrity to his style? So people who know the music of Tok Tok and Mark Hollis music are going to say, no, he changed of style a lot from the beginning to the end, and to the so-called end, no, to the what we think is the end, by hoping it's not the end. I try to repeat myself about that. Anyway, yes, he changed of style, and actually his aim was to change of style and to change everything on each album, which is a true challenge, because changing on each album, it's a kind of difficulty. It's difficult to reinvent yourself all the time like that. But when I read the interviews, the Mark Hollis interviews, what he was saying from the very beginning, he already had his style. He already knew where he wanted to go, and he already had a form of idea of what he liked and what he didn't like. The style changed because at the beginning they didn't have money to pay musicians and to do things acoustic, and it was cheaper to go all digital or almost all digital and doing the things more easily like that. But it doesn't mean that it's exactly what he wanted at the beginning. So he evolved, yes, during his career. Each album is different from the next one, and he went further and further to what he was aiming for. But I think that even if we think that Mark Hollis didn't have an integrity to his style, he actually did. He had an integrity to his style. It's just that the circumstances changed in the meantime. So it made the music change, evolve, going to the, I can't say the best and best, because from the beginning I think it was already very good, but I would say more close to what he wanted. David Bowie, it's completely different. He really changed his style all the time. Really, I don't think that he had an aim from the beginning and knowing where he was going until the end. No, I think that he changed of style, and of what he was loving was changing with time. And if he liked something, he was doing it, and he didn't care about what people may think. Both were doing what they wanted. Mark Hollis maybe at the beginning couldn't do exactly what he wanted because questions of budget, but still it was going in the right direction, I think.
And I'm not particularly trying to be my real self on stage. And I think that just irritates people. I'm not up there to be a real person. That's not what I do. I present an interesting alternative idea of what you can do with rock.
I was not trying to be my real self on stage. It was not the point. He was playing a character. He was acting, actually. I don't think it's the case for Mark Hollis. Mark Hollis changed a lot of his face, his way of being dressed, even his apparent personality was different. We can see that on the pictures. It's absolutely incredible. Sometimes I have the feeling that we don't have the same person. We are not talking about the same person, and it's not only because he had short hair, long hair, sunglasses or not. It's really because he seems really different, but it's more a change of personality. He was not disguised on stage. He didn't have a costume. David Bowie saying that he's an actor, that he's playing a character.
I'm very much a character when I go on stage, I feel. I mean, I like an actor? Yeah, I believe in my part all the way down the line, right the way down. But I do play it for all it's worth, because that's the way I do my stage thing. That's part of what Bowie's supposedly all about. I'm an actor.
I believe him. That's what I feel when I see David Bowie. That's why I can't relate to him, because it's the character that I see. It's not the human being. That's probably why I was seeing him like an alien or someone special who couldn't die, because I never perceived the person behind the different characters. I think that to be able to talk about someone, to tell a story, to paint, to do videos, I really need to understand the human being who is behind the star, or in his job or on stage. That's what interests me. It is the human being. I can say that I'm fascinated maybe by the character, the costumes, Ziggy Stardust, the look. I'm able to stay and look at that and wondering what is that. You know, it's really strange to me. It's it's a true fabrication. It's a complete invention made by David Bowie. I admire this thing, but I can't relate to that. It's not familiar to me. I can't feel anything. I'm just stunned. And of course I love the music, but the music, as I was saying at the beginning, it's completely a part of what I'm saying here. What I appreciate with Mark Hollis is that he's a human being before being an artist, before being on stage or being a star or being a rock star. I don't know if we can say a rock star for Mark Hollis, but he's overall chiefly a human being, and with feelings that he transmits his love through his music, and that's what I hear and what I translate on paintings. That's a huge difference. However,
And if you'd asked me at the time what it was I was trying to do, I had simply no idea. All I knew it was, and I sound like a parrot saying this, but it's true, and this otherness, this other world, an alternative reality.
This otherness, this other world of an alternative reality. So here, I think that we start understanding a little more about David Bowie. I think that was his motivation, being and doing in another world, something which would be completely different from him. That's probably why he needed to have so many characters, and that he needed to hide behind his characters, because probably he didn't like what he was, just simply him. It was not interesting enough for him. For Mark Hollis it's quite different, because he tried to be different person like that one day, very clean at the beginning with the white suit, you know, but he was asked to do that. Then long hair, sunglasses, almost hippie style. That was already more him, I think. But I think that Mark Hollis' personality is too strong to be hidden. It goes through everything. And it goes through even a screen. Even if I never saw him on stage, if I never met him in person, his personality himself is so strong that it goes through everything, and I can feel it. I'm not saying that David Bowie has no personality. He has a very strong personality, but he decided to hide it behind characters that he invented. So the characters are probably a part of him, but which part, what, how, How can I relate to an alien? I'm not an alien myself. It's very difficult for me. I'm not gay or bisexual, or I don't disguise myself. I like what is natural, so of course I can't completely relate to the glam style, even though when I was 16 I was completely glam. But in my case it was not to hide behind something. It was just because I liked the sparkle, and that's it. It was, you know, fancy then, it was in, and I was following the fashion of that period. I was not hiding. David Bowie was hiding. It's totally different.
One that I really wanted to embrace. I wanted anything but the place that I came from.
I wanted anything but the place that I was coming from. I think that is the most real, true, sincere thing that David Bowie said in an interview. I think here we can see the real person. During a few seconds, he let us know what was his motivation. So I saw, I don't know if it's this interview, but he said that, maybe in another interview, I'm not sure, maybe it was this one, but I saw that a very long time ago, and I knew that many years ago that was the reason why David Bowie existed. He wanted so much to be someone else, someone who would be different from who he was, where he was coming from. He has been working on that all his life, and that's how we got a David Bowie. David Bowie has been invented. I mean, the star David Bowie has been created to erase someone that he didn't want to be anymore. If you search in David Bowie's life, his past, his childhood, you will understand why. But I'm not here to speak about David Bowie, and I especially don't want to speak about private things about people who died because he can't respond, he can defend himself. So that's not my purpose here. I really think that Mark Hollis' motivation was probably very different. I don't think that he wanted to escape who he was in his childhood or where he was coming from. I think really, in the case of Mark Hollis, I really think it's more about the love of the music and about working on the music. David Bowie obviously had a passion for music too, but I think that the main reason why he was doing that was to be someone else, someone new, someone different, someone that people are looking at. He needed that. Mark Hollis, obviously he didn't need that, because he stopped when he considered that he couldn't give more or better music. So the music was the main motor for Mark Hollis. Repairing something, changing something was the main motor for David Bowie. So you are going to tell me, who cares? What's the point? I don't know what's the point. Artist motivation always interested me. Why? Why? Maybe because I grew up in a family where my mother was an artist, and her motivation was very close to David Bowie's motivation, even though she was not disguising herself like that. I mean, she was not pretending doing a kabuki theater or things like that, but she was quite a different person on stage from at home. That's maybe the reason why I'm interested in the motivation of an artist. What is my motivation for painting, for doing videos? I feel like a searcher. I need to understand things. I'm excessively curious, but curious to learn, not curious to know secret things that doesn't interest me. I think that I like to tell stories. My videos, like my paintings, are occasions for me to tell stories. But to tell a story, I need to understand it and to be sure about what I'm saying. And to understand it, I must understand the person I'm talking about. And to understand the person I'm talking about, I need the person's music. And the person's music needs to give feelings and love. It's the case in Mark Hollis' music. It's less the case in David Bowie, even though there is a lot of sensitivity in David Bowie's music, as I was saying at the beginning and I'm saying it again. David Bowie's music, I love it. It's most of the time, very good. But there is an ingredient, something in Mark Hollis' music which gives me a little more. I will probably come back on Mark Hollis' changes, because that is something which fascinates me. It has nothing to do with the music. I'm not speaking about his change in the different styles of his albums. No, I'm talking about himself. There is something absolutely fascinating in that, because I'm like, how is he doing that? But, you know, every person has different moods. Myself, if you see me in the morning, I'm not the same person as I am now in the evening. I'm not a very morning person, even though I love mornings, but I'm not very efficient in the morning. So I think we all have changes like that. But I never saw changes like for Mark Hollis. It's really very particular. For David Bowie, it's made like a job. The changes are a job. For Mark Hollis, it's much more subtle. It's much more it's much more related to the feelings again. It's much more related to his moods at that moment. I think that in the case of David Bowie, I don't think the mood was related to anything. It was just new characters he invented and played, and that's it. Yeah. Somehow David Bowie has something very... he has a dimension not totally human, so that's probably why I was so surprised by his death, because I couldn't imagine David Bowie dying, and I still don't understand it, which is ridiculous. I was very glad to find these interviews. I will put the links below if you want to see the whole videos. It's very interesting. So if you want to learn things, David Bowie says very interesting things related to his career and his work. Perfect. Related to his person, he says a lot but just enough not to give too much. Last week I wanted to do a video about journaling, showing my journals. I didn't have the time, but I still plan to do it. It will be on the top of my music videos, of course. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you have anything to say, feel free to comment below or subscribe to my channel if you are interested, if you want to know more, or just like. If you liked it, it's my only way to know if you liked it or not. Thank you very much, and I see you later. Bye bye.